Okay, so here's the final step, kind of the assembly. Once again, I'll tell you some things I do and that I probably shouldn't do, that there might be a better method. Once again, take my ideas, make them better. Here we go. So first things first, I'm going to take one of them and glue it on to my cereal box. I did not remove the tape this time. I'm trying to see if I could just glue over it. I do it sometimes, and it doesn't have an issue. I'm just using a generic glue stick. I did Mod Podge, but it warped my paper because I'm impatient and I didn't let it dry for a second. But if you're really good, and there's probably better glue sticks and things like that, I would suggest something better than this. I just haven't taken the time to figure out what. But the glue stick works for the most part. So then the fun part, lining it up. I did not cut out all the imperfections yet. I'll do that later in a second once I get it all lined up. And press, 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 press. And look. Now, if you're being environmentally friendly and you're okay with it being a little bit more bendable, you're done. You know, that's it. The kids have to be a little bit more careful with it because it won't stay on. And you probably need to add blue tape around the edge. But once again, that's for older kids, probably 5 and above, where they won't really just bend this. And then do it to the other side. Oh, I also am going to glue on the parts. Sorry, I have the laminator on and it's being a little loud. And so this part I'm going to glue on my little cute pot I did with cardstock. I wanted brown, but I didn't have scraps of brown laying around, so I'm going to go with this off beigeish gray color. There we go. One of those close enough, the kids don't know any different. I'm going to start doing these in color. I've been just doing them black and white for now, but so I'll start sending these out in color so you guys can see them soon, just to mix it up for my kids. Constantly, you know how it is as a parent, constantly wanting something different for them. Keep them entertained. Okay. I was doing these for a while there, every day almost. My son was very excited for these. He'd come down to the table a day looking for something new. So they were definitely worth the time and effort, but we started traveling and I haven't had time. So that's why it's taken so long to make these videos. Alright, there we go. So glue that on. I'm going to, before I laminate it, I'm going to cut this part. There we go. I'm just using a basic blade, nothing fancy. Now, things I would have invested in differently. Probably a better blade, because you're going to have to cut out the laminate for the circles. So one of those nice crotch blades would probably be way better than this. Also, I would have preferred to buy a better printer that could print onto cardstock. So if you're getting into this, you're like, oh, what do I need? Now, you don't need any of those things. Once again, I've been doing it with regular, and I'll show you hacks to use whatever you have. But if you're asking what I would have changed, that's one of them. I would have gotten, I didn't line it up perfectly, but I don't honestly care that you can see the cereal box part, but that's up to you. As long as the holes are lined up. Okay. So, other things I would have bought better. I bought the Pen and Gear laminator. It's okay. It's way cheaper than the other ones, but just okay. And I used their laminate. Once again, just okay. I would suggest a better one, maybe a little thicker one, better quality laminate, and a little bit better quality of anything. It's just, I don't think it's hot enough. I tried doing the method for those who are like, well, do I really need a laminator? Can I just buy the pages? I tried doing the other method with an ironing board and all that, and it did not go well. But of course, you can try, but I had no success. But I lack patience. Okay, here we go. Important things to note. Don't put it right on the edge here. Keep a little room. The measurements I gave provided a little bit of room for the laminate to seal, so you can cut around it. So leave a little room there, a little room on the edges, call it a day. And from here, luckily, best part about this machine is it fits in easily. And I only laminate once, before this, if you would have just done those two, the cardstock and the syrup box in between, it's pretty sturdy actually. I only laminate because my kids are 1.5 and 2.5. So they tend to try to destroy everything I create. And if I'm spending this much time, I would like it to last. And I'm hoping to, you know, give it to the next person when my kids grow up and they have a bunch of inserts. So that's why I don't mind laminating it. I usually only, as a teacher, I try to only laminate things I actually think are going to be used multiple times. Other than that. Here it goes. Almost done. And then we're on the last step. That actually takes kind of a long time, in a sense, depending on your design. And what I mean by that is, cutting it out, this part's very important. You need to leave the seal, so leave some edges. Don't cut right on the white cardstock. Once again, I left room for you to, on the measurements, to do this step, because it's very important. And you can test out one if, you know, cut it too big. And then when you try to put it into the bin, when you try to put it into the bin, if it is not working because it's too big, then cut it thinner. Right, there should be plenty of room. I think I have a bin up here, so I'm just cutting around. So once again, this part's super important. Make sure to leave an edge. You don't want the laminate to separate. I have it on a few of mine, and I just don't think they're gonna last as long when they separate. It does still make it sturdier, but I don't think it's gonna last as long. So from here, when you stick in the bin, if it's not staying flat, just cut it a little bit closer. From here, the last step is I take my blade. So this is what makes it not waterproof. If you were to leave it like this, it'd be waterproof. And I'm gonna start making some that are waterproof, but it's not, because these ones I am going to cut right on the seam because I need all that space. So the reason I'm not super in love with this laminator is that it doesn't really seal. These ones were separated in here. Since the thing I'm laminating is so thick, it doesn't really seal the in-between part. That's why I end up just cutting out anyways. So it's just something to keep in mind. I don't want you to spend all this hard work and then dunk it in some cool water activity and then it get ruined. I've done like a little bit of water stuff on it, but nothing that's super water intensive. What's cool is your kids can take like a whiteboard marker and color on this. And I just use like a, what was that, magic eraser, and I use it. Now this is where you can get a little bit fancier than what I'm doing. It leaves a little bit of a rough edge, and this is why I decided I can't sell them, because it's not as pretty. Because I know I offer to make these for people, but I don't think anyone would buy them since they look a little not so fancy once I do this part. You could probably find a better method to do this. I need to probably go buy a craft blade or something. Just haven't taken the time. So I'm just cutting around the circle, cutting the edge. Once again, if you could find a better method, do it. It doesn't look bad from far away. And then another trick, and I'll show you in a second, is you could take a lighter. Let's see if I have one. If you're not in love with the fact that it's a little, now this is a gamble part. Only do this, you know, if you're okay with it having some flaws, because sometimes it happens. So what I do is I try to heat around it to kind of melt the plastic, and there you go. Makes it a little bit better. So once again, I can take the lighter, go really close, try not to melt your plastic. It is a gamble. Don't do it if you don't feel comfortable doing it, because you might ruin it. I have accidentally got this part a little burnt, and it actually wiped off, shockingly. So if you do make that mistake, good news is that it should come off in theory. And then just a few more. So this is where it gets kind of time heavy. Let's see. One day I'll edit this video for y'all and make it a little bit nicer, but for now, sorry for the inner monologue stuff. It kind of feels weird just sitting there. So. Now, if you want to be a little bit faster at these things, 2 squares, super easy to cut out, even the little ones. The circles or the squiggle lines, which I'll show you at the end of this video, all the different styles I'm in, do definitely take a lot longer. And please don't judge my poor knife safety. Now you guys can see how long it actually takes me to make one of these guys. And why I had when I was deciding whether to sell them or not. So if you're in the market to sell these ideas, which by all means go ahead. If you're wanting to sell them, it does take a while. So that's why I was like, man, I would have to charge like $15 or $20. But I didn't think they'd be nice enough for that. Just because the cutting out part takes a while. I could probably figure out how to get the Cricut to do this, but I really don't quite know how. Yeah, it's the only step I haven't found an easier method to do. Don't judge my cutting, it's my least favorite thing to do. That's why I bought a Cricut machine. I like crafting, but I hate cutting. Cutting ruins all of it for me. Okay, just never turns out perfect. So last step, I'm gonna try. So as you can see, it's a little rough. If you don't care, it hasn't hurt my kids' fingers yet. But, you know, be careful. Watch your kids the whole time they're using the inserts, always. But this method kind of works. Once again, it's a gamble. Hopefully I don't burn it. So you guys don't see me burn it, but there you go. Cleans it up some. Still a little rough on the edges, but I call it good enough. I'm going to go get you the other inserts for the video so you guys can see.